Hey, strategic entrepreneur, it's Tash here, and I have such a great podcast episode for you today for day 6 of Tashmas. This follows on from the day 4 podcast episode in which we talked about why most people don't actually have a reach problem. They need to look at other parts of their client attraction process if they want to make more sales. I also, in that podcast episode, talked about reach preachers, which is online marketers who have a vested interest in you staying very focused on your reach strategies, because reach is one of the easiest things to teach and deliver for online businesses, but it doesn't necessarily create sales. So in today's episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast, I'm going to help you assess your client attraction process step by step so that you can identify where your biggest gaps are. So these are your client attraction process gaps, i.e. CAP gaps, I call them. Cap gaps. So in today's episode, we're going to identify where your biggest cap gaps are so that you can direct your energy and attention and your focus to those parts of your client attraction process and therefore eliminate the bottlenecks that are stopping you from getting the sales that you want and need. Without having to reach more people, without having to grow your audience, you will see more people progressing through that client attraction process, and that's going to create more sales. So if that sounds really exciting to you, then stay tuned. This is episode number 386. So all the relevant links and the show notes for today's episode are over at tashcorbin.com/386. Let's dive into this one because I want to go through it step by step. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. Ooh, this is so exciting. And this is something that you can do over and over again to consistently improve the rate at which people progress through your client attraction process. And this is something that I do very regularly. So inside all of my programs, Takeoff, Leverage and Launch, and in the Accelerator, we review and work on the client attraction process consistently because that is such an important foundation of your business strategy. The client attraction process is your marketing part of your business strategy. So in Takeoff, we build it and then we make it scalable. In Leverage and Launch, we create an optimized client attraction process specific to the course that you're going to be creating and launching. In the Accelerator, we are consistently finessing that client attraction process and looking for ways to improve conversion every step of the way. And in the upcoming 5-day client attraction challenge, that's also what we're building. We're focusing on your client attraction process from start to finish. Now, that also includes a lot of very practical marketing strategies and how to actually get people into the top of your funnel and all that kind of stuff, but it is also built specifically around the client attraction process. So you'll be able to review this for every product that you ever launch, for every niche that you ever decide to pivot into, for every shift that you make in your business. I would recommend using this process to first and foremost ensure that you're very clear on what the client attraction process is, and you can do that self-assessment. So how does this work? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through each stage of the client attraction process and what we want to achieve at each stage. You will rate how well and how effectively you do that on a scale of 1 to 10 for each stage of the client attraction process. Plus, I'm going to invite you to note down any obvious improvements that you know need to be made pretty urgently. The reason why I get you to focus on self-assessment and paying attention to the obvious improvements first is because we often feel tempted or lured into more advanced strategies and thinking there's something far more involved or complex that's going to create far better results. But most of the advanced strategies in your client attraction process need the obvious stuff to be nailed first. So for example, if you're not regularly emailing your mailing list, then putting strategies in place to grow your mailing list aren't going to necessarily be that effective. You've got to look after the people you already have in your audience. So that's a really tangible example of where sometimes we know that the basics aren't being taken care of, but we are convincing ourselves that we need to go out and find the more advanced and complex ways to grow our reach or grow our audience or, get ahead of everyone else and differentiate ourselves. But we've got to get those foundations and the obvious stuff taken care of first. So I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 and then note down any very obvious gaps that need to be taken care of. I'll also try and give you some very practical examples along the way so that can help you to identify where you may be missing something. Now, when we go through each stage of the client attraction process, we're actually going to go from the bottom up, because the bottom of your client attraction process is where you should prioritize first. So we don't start at reach, because if you reach people but you don't have a way to create a relationship, that reach is wasted. So if you're going to be addressing gaps, I want you to address them from the bottom up. And as we go through, I think you'll find that it becomes more and more obvious as to why I recommend that you do it that way. And it feels so much more strategic because you are taking care of the next stage before you actually go up a level in your funnel. So what we are going to do is start at deliver. So stage 5 of the client attraction process is deliver. Now, the measure of how effective your deliver stage is knowing to what extent do you provide a great client experience and deliver on your promises. So I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How well do you provide a great client experience and deliver on the promise? Now, something that you might like to do is note down why you gave yourself that rating. So when you come back and reassess in 3 or 4 months' time, you don't just have a random number there and you can't remember why you were thinking it was so low or why you thought it was so great. So give it a rating and note down why you give it that rating. Now, in the areas of providing a great client experience and delivering on your promise, where are there some obvious gaps that need to be addressed? Do you, for example, struggle to onboard new clients and make them feel really welcomed? Do you struggle with how you end client packages or your work with people and get their feedback and testimonials once that package is complete? So note down any obvious improvements you want to make to that client delivery experience. And then also, I want you to think about to what extent you deliver on your promises. Now, I've said on multiple podcast episodes previously that the fastest way to dry up new clients is by feeling like you're under-delivering to existing ones, especially if you're someone who really values integrity and seeing through your promises and ensuring that people are getting what they expected when they work with you. So if you have any niggling concerns or obvious ways that you know you need to improve delivering on your promises, or maybe you need to change your marketing approach so you're not creating expectations in new clients that you can't deliver on. But either way, I want you to note down for deliver, what is the obvious improvement that you could focus on and get in place within the next week or so. Then let's move on to convert. So in your client attraction process, convert means it's the point at which you have people who are leads who've indicated that they're interested in working with you actually purchase your product or service. So this is that point at which people actually choose to buy. Now, if your only source of conversion is posting on social media, then you may assume that you have a conversion issue, right? Because, well, I post my offers in the Heart Center group and over on my page, but no one ever buys them. But that often isn't actually a conversion issue, because when you have a conversation with someone, they actually do convert into a paying client more than 50% of the time. That is a lead generation issue. You're actually just not getting enough leads. So we want to make sure that we're focused in when we rate your conversion, we're focused in when you ask leads to make that final commitment, when you invite people to actually purchase, and you're inviting hot leads, not just strangers on the internet. So I want you to have a think for your sales conversations, or when people email or DM about your packages or working with you. When you think about your sales pages. So if you are in the more leveraged or passive income phases of business, in those more advanced phases, how effectively do your sales pages convert? They get people to actually purchase the offer that is laid out on them. So I want you to give yourself a rating out of 10. Now, you can also break this down between your different offers if you have a range of ways that people could work with you. If you offer VIP packages and you've got like a single session and a 4-session pack and an 8-session pack, I would just put them all together, right? Because it's working with you as a VIP. But if you also have a membership or an online course, or you sell retreats, or you sell something that's quite a different way of working with you, what I would do is actually maybe even break it up into those different offers. So how effective do you convert people into working with you as a VIP? How effectively do you convert people into your online course? How effectively do you get conversion when you have leads for your in-person workshop or your events? So you might even break those ones up. And again, any obvious improvements or changes that you can make to improve that rating, make sure that you note them down now. Well done. So the next step is invite. So the step before conversion is inviting people to take a step towards buying a specific product or service with you. And that invite is where someone self-identifies as a lead. So they take that step towards purchase. So it might be that you invite people to book a sales conversation with you, and they do. It might be that you have strategies to get people to DM you about certain packages or working together, or they send you emails and they send you that email. They say, yes, I am interested in that package. Could we talk about how it might work for me? You also generate leads when you send people to your sales page for a specific product or service. But I want to be very clear here that that is a very cold lead, right? So that invitation is not as warm as inviting someone to send you a message or email you. So if you are in the early stages of business, I generally recommend your focus is on one-to-one invitations. So inviting people to email you, send you a direct message, or jump on a call. And as you move into the leveraged model of business, as you move into selling passive income or low ticket or courses or those types of things, then a sales page might be an adequate invitation for you. So that invite is going to look different depending on the stage of business you're in and also the model of business that you have. And if you are measuring the effectiveness of the invite stage for sending people to sales pages, then you'll need to have a look at the numbers, I would recommend. So that will also be where you would look at your conversion rate for that sales page and assess how well you convert people from the sales page into buying from you. As I highlighted on day 4 of Tashmas, the conversion rate from different types of invites is very different. So if you invite people to book a call with you, you're looking for a conversion rate from sales calls that's at least 30%, if not 50% or higher. If you're inviting people to DM you or email you about specific offers and talking about working together, then you might see a conversion rate between 30 and 50%. And if you send people over to a sales page, you might be aiming for 5% conversion from your sales page. So it's very different depending on how connected that invitation is. And also it does depend on the price point and how flexible the offer will be when you're actually getting people to have that conversation with you and discuss their options with you. So again, I want you to rate yourself. How effectively do you deliver on that invite stage of your client attraction process? How effective is it currently when you are getting people to take that step towards a product, a service, a purchase? So give yourself a rating out of 10, and then identify any obvious gaps that would be able to help you improve that rating. So for example, if you haven't previously focused any time and energy on the invitation stage, that would be quite obvious then, wouldn't it? So you want to experiment with some different strategies for invitations. You might want to do some research on how you can move those invitations to be more one-on-one rather than being everything sending people to sales pages. You know, that's a big light bulb moment a lot of people have when they work with me, is that they think it's better to have 100 people go and visit a sales page than it is to get 5 people onto a sales conversation. But actually, you are far more likely to make 5 sales from having 5 sales conversations than you are from having 100 people visit a sales page in most cases. And so leads that you are inviting are definitely far more likely to purchase from you if that invitation is more connected. So look for some ways that you might be able to implement some changes pretty quickly and pretty easily that can improve the rating you'd give yourself for invite. And we will move on to nurture. So nurture, we are looking to build connection, trust, and a relationship with your audience. And this is both one-on-one as well as at the community or one-to-many level. The more early you are in your business journey, the more I recommend one-to-one strategies for nurture. And the more your business becomes more consistent, the more your audience is growing on autopilot, the more scalable your business becomes, the more you'll move towards one-to-many nurture strategies. So think about the things that you do right now to build connection, trust, and relationships with your audience members. And I want you to give yourself a rating from 1 to 10 on how effectively you nurture those relationships. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you nurture relationships, connection, and trust with your current audience? Some of the ways that you can nurture relationships one-on-one is to encourage people to ask you questions, encourage people to submit requests for feedback on certain things. And I've seen this done really well, especially where people sell websites, for example, and they'll just say, 5 people, put your website in the comments below, and I'll do a little video review live on my page so everyone can learn from the insights that we get on website optimization. And so they'll go and do 5 reviews. Well, each of those people who've had their website reviewed, of course, are going to feel very much more connected to you now. But also you're demonstrating your expertise publicly for your audience as well. So it's multifaceted in the way that it supports that nurture of the relationship. Something that I do is in some of my free trainings, I actually invite people. It's a little secret invitation at the end for people who finish. And so I invite people to send me a DM and I give them some specific instructions on what to send me. And I actually give the feedback one-on-one. It's basically like a little free coaching in the DMs. What that's doing is it's helping them to implement what they've learned in the training, and also it's establishing more of that connection with them on a one-on-one basis. Now, I don't ever do that with the expectation of them turning into clients. I am just looking to nurture as many one-on-one relationships with people as I can. And I know the more that I do that, the more people will take that step forward when I invite them to discuss a package or a service or a product. And so that's a really effective way of doing that one-on-one nurture, either then with an audience or just privately doing it in the DMs. So there's some one-to-one nurture strategies. If you are new to my mailing list, you get a welcome email that in 3 places in the email encourages you to reply and tell me about yourself and tell me about your business. And I do get lots and lots of replies to that welcome email. And I genuinely love them because I get to know all the different types of businesses that people have, what people are struggling with. And often they'll let me know like what their business is and what they're up to and what they're struggling with. And I'll have a free resource or a podcast episode I can recommend. And so, look, I'm being of service. I'm sharing something that will be helpful. It's completely free. There's no attachment to that then turning into a purchase, but it is super effective at building that relationship and building that trust. And I would rather build that relationship and that trust with people and use my time to do that than spend a bunch of time on the internet just like marketing to a cold void, right? Like, and just putting stuff out on the internet and I don't even know who I'm speaking to. And so for me, I still, even at this stage of my business, I still think it is a very valuable use of my time to nurture those relationships pretty one-on-one. And I don't work huge hours in my business. It doesn't take up a lot of my time. It is just a really effective, really connected way of getting to know a bunch of people. And I really do think that it accelerates the trust that we build with each other so quickly, far more than me having 1,000 podcast episodes they could binge listen to would ever do. Far more effectively than posting 12 times a day on social media would ever do. So, I think that a lot of the time we think it's more valuable to our business if more people see it or if it accesses or supports more people at once. But in a lot of cases, the value in terms of return per person is far lower when you're working in those one-to-many strategies. So I generally recommend, make sure you've got a couple of one-to-one nurture strategies in place first before you then go into, thinking about what a sexy one-to-many nurture strategy might look like. Now, in my business, some of my one-to-many nurture strategies include the Heart-Centered Business podcast. So some people have podcasts as a reach strategy. I have a podcast for my nurture strategy. And I think that this is where, for a lot of people, when they hear about the client attraction process, they ask me to say, okay, well, what's the best thing I could do for nurture? And, if I'm doing a podcast, which part of the client attraction process does it fit? And, those questions, whilst I totally understand the desire to ask them, are almost impossible for me to answer without actually asking about 12 follow-up questions or getting to know your business in a lot more depth. And it is something that we do in a lot more depth inside my programs, as I said. But ultimately, you don't have to buy from me to be able to build your own nurture strategy. It's just recognizing that the way you implement a certain strategy will be different if you're implementing it through the lens of nurture versus implementing it through the lens of reach. And the mistake I see most people make is that they try and get one strategy to do too many different jobs. So one of the things that I talked about on day 4 was how running a webinar can actually do all of the stages of the client attraction process. But I don't recommend that you look for as many strategies as possible that do all of the jobs. I recommend that you find 1 or 2 very effective strategies for each stage and you customize and implement those strategies specifically to achieve the one job in the client attraction process that they will do for you. So you can nurture relationship connections and trust with your audience one-to-many by providing really helpful content. That's something that I do. You can nurture that relationship on a one-to-many basis by doing a regular Facebook Live every Friday at 1 p.m. in which you do live group coaching for people absolutely free, right? That could be a nurture strategy. Is it the most effective for you? Well, we don't know until you try it, or we assess it through the lens of, well, what else could you do with that time? Is there something else that you could do that would more effectively nurture that relationship, that trust and that connection? So again, I want you to, and I would split this up between one-to-one nurture and one-to-many nurture, and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How effectively do you do those things? So how effectively do you nurture one-to-one relationships with your audience? And how effectively do you nurture the trust and connection and relationships you have using broadcast strategies or one-to-many strategies? Once you've done that and noted any obvious things you can do to improve, then we go up to reach. And we look at reach last because it has the least impact on sales. And until you feel confident in the other stages of your client attraction process, then investing time and money in reach can often end up in a lot of wasted time and money. So the measure of reach is how effectively do you get in your content in front of more of the right people at the right time. So, and by content, I mean anything that is content that you've created. It could be social media content. It could be podcast content. It could be a blog. It could be your website if you SEO it. It could be other social platforms that you're on. So again, we want to look at, well, what are you currently doing to reach your audience with content at the right time, right? Right audience, right place, right time, right? And so how effectively are you doing that with the reach strategies you are focused on in your business right now? Now, I want you to rate that on a scale of 1 to 10. And I want you to identify, again, any obvious things that you could do or any obvious improvements that you could make. Now, one of the most obvious improvements that you can make is identifying what reach strategies are you currently putting time and energy into that aren't an important use of your time right now. Because for most people, they will spend a significant portion of their time marketing their business focused on reach. And what we actually need to do is reduce the number of reach strategies you're focused on and improve the time and energy that you're giving to the other stages of the client attraction process. So if your obvious improvements are to stop doing a bunch of things, that's also a very valid strategic decision, especially for those of you who have limited time or limited resources. Investing lots and lots of time in a bunch of different reach strategies when you don't have the nurture or the invitation part sorted, then it's actually wasted. And I have had a lot of clients come to work with me who are in exactly that situation. They are actually reaching a very, very handsomely sized audience, but it's a bottleneck because that reach doesn't translate into building the relationship and connection. And it certainly doesn't translate into people taking up any invitations. So it doesn't result in sales. So if the obvious thing for you is to reduce your reach strategies, then eliminate a bunch of things where, you know, you're putting in the hard yards, but it's not necessarily working. I generally recommend that you focus on one social media platform as your primary reach strategy if you're using social media. So for example, if you are trying to currently be on Instagram and Facebook and you are trying to create content that works for both, what will end up happening is it's optimized for neither. So the strategies that you use for organic and paid reach on Instagram are actually quite different to the strategies that you use for organic and paid reach on Facebook. Despite the fact that those accounts are linked, despite the fact that they're both owned by Meta, User behavior on those platforms is very different, and therefore optimizing your strategy for those platforms is also different. So if you currently don't have a primary social platform that you've made a decision is the one that you're focused on, I would recommend making that decision be one of the obvious things that you do for reach. And if you are currently very satisfied with your organic reach strategies and you are actually converting quite a lot of those clients through the stages of your client attraction process, so you're pretty satisfied with nurture and invite and convert and deliver, then the obvious reach strategy that I would recommend is the boosty posty, i.e. paying for reach, because it takes the least amount of time out of organic or paid. And also, if you aren't yet investing in ads at scale, then practicing and experimenting with some boosty posties is a great way to really lift that reach as quickly as possible without having to spend thousands of dollars on ads management itself. Okay, so that is the client attraction process assessment. Hopefully you found that super helpful, and I have a special offer and coupon code for you today as your gift for Tashmas. So you may have heard me mentioning online here and there that I am running the 5-day client attraction challenge in April. And for the first time ever, the 5-day client attraction challenge is a closed group. It is not going to be something that we do inside the heart-centered, soul-driven entrepreneurs group. We're actually going to have a dedicated community just for the 5DCAC, which will allow me to give far more feedback on individual decisions and individual posts. And it will help me to get more detail and more insight into your business and your client attraction process in particular, so that we can optimize it and start attracting and converting more clients. So the 5-day client attraction challenge is literally what it's called. It's 5 days to attract and convert clients. And over the last few years, I have run the 5DCAC, I would say like 8 or 9 times, and it is absolutely spectacular. So each day there is a video instruction that you will be given on what to do for today. Then you will complete the tasks that are given in the video instructions. There's also a beautiful workbook. And you will come and share with me inside our dedicated community what your decisions are for that day of the 5DCAC and what actions you've taken. Not only that, you'll also get my feedback on those decisions, and we have beautiful opportunities for you to get your business in the spotlight in front of my audience. So 5DCAC participants will be spotlighted inside the Heart Centered community, as well as on my own social channels throughout the week. This allows us to work together to really nail your client attraction process. But not only that, we are nailing the important foundations of your business. So we are going to really zero in on the most powerful and effective niche that is going to work for you at this stage of your business. We are going to focus on your messaging and your value proposition to ensure that you know how to express the value of the transformation that you facilitate in a way that your audience are getting very excited to work with you. We also look at your packaging and your offers to ensure that you are crafting offers that are super juicy, have your audience excited to say yes, and they're hungry to invest in because they deeply understand the value proposition, and it is a no-brainer kind of decision for them to make the decision to say yes to working with you. Then we step by step craft and curate your client attraction process to maximize conversion through each stage, ensuring that we are not creating a lot of busy work that doesn't actually result in people moving through that process. So the 5-day client attraction challenge is something that does take an investment. It is a paid opportunity for us to work together. However, for day 6 of Tashmas, your special offer is a super juicy discount coupon. So in order to get your super juicy discount coupon for the 5DCAC, come on over to the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/386, and there will be a link there for you to come and share with us what your biggest cap gap is and what you are going to do to improve it. Not only will that then get you access to the 5DCAC discount coupon, I'll also give you some feedback. I'll have a look at what it is that you've identified, the strategies that you've focused on, and if there's any improvements or suggestions that I can make, I will make them. So make sure you come on over to those show notes, tashcorbin.com/386, and there you'll find the link to where you can submit your biggest cap gap and what your most obvious improvements are that you're going to be making. And we will send you your juicy discount coupon so that you can come and join us for the 5-day client attraction challenge at a really, really affordable price. And we are going to get you attracting and converting clients quickly. This is your opportunity to work with me to sort your client attraction process and your business foundations in real time, so that you attract and convert clients. It is so connected to the results of your business. It is super practical, super tangible, and I'm really, really excited to support you in developing your business foundations and your client attraction process and getting those clients in the door. Now, I also just quickly want to say, if you are a member of the Takeoff program, you are better off going over to the Takeoff group and grabbing the coupon there, because for Takeoff students, your discount is even greater. So Takeoff students will actually get a far bigger discount on the 5DCAC. So I just wanted to mention that here because I want to make sure that you're aware that you've got an extra juicy discount available to you as a student of the Takeoff program. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. Until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine and have fun working on your strategies to fill those cap gaps and start improving your conversion through each stage of the client attraction process. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.